Hey guys, Steph here. I want to talk about app development, vlogging, and this famous vlogger, Casey Neistat. Now, this guy, Casey Neistat, you may or may not seen him on YouTube. He's shot up, become hugely popular, and he's hugely popular for a few reasons. Number one, he's got a very distinct style. His cuts, his jump cuts, and really cool cinematography. This guy is a true pro at what he does. Now, his style is very distinct on YouTube, but it's not something that came out of nowhere. And I'm not taking it away from him. He's really good at what he does, and he's the best vlogger I have seen in terms of entertainment value. He vlogs about seemingly mundane things like going to buy baby clothes, but he makes it interesting partly because of his style. But the main reason why people, I believe, stick with this Casey Neistat guy, and I started watching his vlogs, are entertaining, is because of the substance. So there's style and then there's substance. The style brings you in, attracts you, but it's the substance that keeps you there. And this Casey guy just has an interesting life, an interesting perspective, and he's just a good guy. Well, at least he seems like a pretty good guy when you look at his vlogs and so forth. So that's what keeps people around. Now, what I see, it's all going to come back to coding in a second. Just bear with me for a minute. So what I see now on YouTube, I see people copying him verbatim. It's really pretty obvious, like same style, same everything. Now, the difference is they do it, sometimes you see that when they're copying this guy Neistat, when they're copying him, it looks pretty good. Other times, not quite as good. Casey is still like, they're here and he's up here in terms of execution. But what they all lack is, first of all, Casey's the first to make that style popular on YouTube. Second, he's got a lot of substance, whereas a lot of other people, there's no substance to them, unfortunately. So that just comes with experience, life experience. It comes with being an individual, being a free thinker, which is kind of rare these days. Now, with regards to his style, Casey Neistat's style, as he has said himself, I've seen in one of his vlogs, it didn't come out of nowhere. He wears these sunglasses all the time. He got that from Jack Nicholas, right? It's the defining thing about him. You always see him with these glasses. In terms of how he films, the angles, and how he edits everything, it kind of reminds me of a movie, Boogie Nights. I don't know if you may have seen this. Came out about 15 years ago. This guy Mark Wahlberg, I think that was his big come out movie, and Burt Reynolds was in it. And Casey uses very similar cinematography, very similar editing techniques in his vlogs. And I don't know if Casey copied that movie, or the director of that movie and Casey have the similar influences. I don't know. But again, at the end of the day, the style attracts the viewer, but it's the substance that keeps you there. And that's what Casey has over everybody else who's trying to copy him on YouTube, is that he's got both, and he does both much better. That being said, how does this relate to coding? Well, coding these days is much more of an issue of UX, UI, and content than it is technical execution. Back in the 90s, up into the early 2000s, I would argue, a lot of the challenges with coding apps was technical. How can we do this? I don't know how to do this. Can we do this? Can we generate graphs? Can we send an SMS? There's all these challenges that are now trivial because the technology has evolved, has matured. We're at a point now where the differentiator between technology A and technology B, or app A and B, is not the technology, it's not the coding end of it. It's the user experience, it's the content, if you will, it's the environment that the app provides. So when you're looking at app development, don't be one of these Casey Neistat copiers. When you are looking at developing your own app, I'm talking to people who might be interested in coming up with a concept for a startup of their own, or creating their own app from scratch that tries to solve some sort of problem. I talked about this before. When you're writing apps, you're always trying to solve a problem in the end. So don't copy other people's. Don't copy them. You can borrow ideas from all kinds of different app developers. Everybody does it. Apple does it. Apple doesn't invent anything out of nothing. They see what's out there. They see what's interesting, what's kind of working, and they see if they can improve upon it. They make it look good. They integrate it within their ecosystem, and they improve upon what's already out there. So nobody invents anything out of a vacuum. But don't just say, I'm going to copy X, Y, and Z app. I'm just going to do what they do and try to make it look a little bit better. You're going to fail. You're going to fail because the first to market is a huge advantage. And if you're not the first to market, because obviously if you're copying somebody, you're not the first. Forget about it. So it's better to step back before you start trying to just copy somebody else's app and try to consider how you can come up with something that's better in a substantial way and is your own. Today, writing apps and writing code is much more similar to an artistic expression, believe it or not, than an engineering expression, because the engineering problems have largely been solved in coding these days. I hope that's useful, Chow.